Okay, welcome to another episode of Hit the Mics with Ryan D. I, of course, am Ryan D.
Yo, and I am Steve Rodgers.
That's right. And today we have a very special guest, a man I haven't spoken to in a while, a man I met on the road. Give it up for Phil Johnson, everybody.
Hello.
I'm still my hosting fucking phase. My hosting.
Yeah, I thought you were gonna add in like a little clap.
I have it here. Because I keep doing that. I actually have applause that I've added.
Yeah.
Wait, where's my soundboard here?
We need one of those toy microphones with the button on it. Where you step on the button.
Applause.
Yeah, exactly. I guess I lost. Oh, here it is.
It's not important.
There it is. Hey, everybody. There you go.
Now I feel welcome. I didn't feel welcomed before that.
That's what we strive for.
Strive for greatness. Anyway,
Yeah.
took that shit off. So what's up, man? How are you?
I'm good. I'm trying to just stay creative and keep my eyes open and keep moving forward, man.
As we all are, really.
Yeah.
I mean, Steve, this is my co-host Steve. Steve's not a comedian, but he's a screenwiter. So
Pleasure to meet you, Steve.
Nice to meet you.
But anyway, yeah,
you forgot director as well.
Oh, director. Sorry.
Thanks for that.
Shame on you, Ryan.
But so it seems like you've still been remaining pretty busy though. So how's that been going? Like, what is it on the road? How is it on the road right now during this fucking pandemic?
Oh, there is no on the road. I haven't been in front of a real audience since March of last year. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So then we're all in the same boat then.
We're all in the same boat. Yeah.
I mean, I was just thinking because I keep seeing people doing stuff, but it's like, I mean,
Texas, right? Texas, Arizona. That's what it's
well,
doing.
even here in California, but you know, they're doing like these patio gigs or whatever,
Right.
And it's a lot of guys who are obviously like on a different level than I, but
I find there's two levels of people. There are people that they really do make their living as a comic, and that was the only income that they have, and so they've been dying to go back on the road so they can pay their bills. There's that level of comic, and then there's the open micers who just feel the need to go out and talk into a microphone, even when they probably shouldn't be. You know, I'm in the middle of those two. I have other sources of income, so I didn't need to be on the road, fortunately.
Yeah, same here. But I did because I was running so many other rooms. That was like my big. Those were my big paydays sometimes. You know,
right?
It certainly helped. I mean, I was getting anywhere between like $100 to $300 a night by running these rooms. You know,
sure.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's been brutal, really brutal. I mean, but yeah, I mean, same here. The last show I did was the Brea Improv, I think, in January of 2020.
Okay, yeah. So even further back, yeah, I did something in mid-March in Oakland, and then I had one other gig book, and I brought up my Facebook thread with the guy that had booked it the other day, and my last message to him was, "Hey, man, do you mind if I skip the show tonight? Because I'm trying to not go out." And he was like, "Yeah, no problem." Yeah. That was the last time we talked.
Yeah, well, and that's what kept happening because that's what kept happening in February was gigs kept getting pushed or moved or whatever.
Right.
People kept canceling on my room, so I ended up just canceling all my shows altogether in February because no one wanted to come out. So I was like, all right, you know. And then
but Phil, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, I was going to ask Phil, like, so what have you been doing to stay creative then?
Well, I went into quarantine with a list of projects because I've always got a list of projects to be working on. And the first thing that I had to do was we had just finished filming my new comedy special at the end of February. So I had to do all the post-production for that. So I spent, I don't know, it came out in November. So I spent a good 5-6 months just doing post-production on the special and getting that all put together and doing a lot of writing. I've already written a whole nother hour of stuff that I've been playing with online. And so that was a lot of that. And then digging back into writing music and getting that stuff recorded. So I've been recording a series of singles and things that are going to come out over 2021 here every 6 weeks or so.
So insane busy.
Yeah. Very busy. Very
so
busy.
You just mentioned like you wrote a whole new hour.
Yeah.
Have you where have you worked any of them out? Have you done like those Zoom shows?
Yeah, I've been doing the Zoom show. I've been doing the short sets, and then I put together a full length, evening with Phil type of thing just for my fans. We had about 45 people there, and I said, this is not going to be polished. I'm going to run this brand new hour for you guys, and it actually went really well, better than I thought it should have.
That's always
and
good.
So I've got a couple of those things coming up.
That's nice when it's a crowd that's there for you, so you can actually, they're going to be nice to you no matter what, right?
Yeah, and it was funny because it was a combination of like people who have seen me for years, and like friends of my mom who always seem to show up, and
always count on them.
Yeah,
always count on them. And then like people who had never seen me before but had just recently found me on Facebook or YouTube or something like that, and they saw the thing and they came in and they were equally as enthused with the new material. So that was promising.
That's great. So where'd you do that? Was that in because you're like in the Bay Area, right?
Yeah, San Jose.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's where you did it?
Yeah, right here in my music studio, my recording studio.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I see. Okay, that's cool, man. Yeah, I haven't done any of those Zoom shows. I did a private party.
Okay.
Like a few I don't know. What was it, in the summer?
It was not. I think it was like in May. Yeah, for Jingles.
Yeah. So, and that was about it.
Yeah.
And even that,
it's a weird medium. It's a weird medium. The timing is all different.
Yeah, it's so strange. So we just been doing this. I mean, Steve and I pretty much relaunched my podcast, and now we're in different areas now. I ended up having to move. We're not even close to each other anymore. But this is the way it's been. I mean, I have another podcast too that I've been doing with my two other friends, and it's been this way. I mean, I've been talking to people on screens more than ever.
Yeah.
Dude, Zoom fatigue is real. It is real.
It's bad, man. Like we're supposed to talk to people in person. Like, yeah, you get to still see people and interact and have these social interactions, but it's just not the same.
Right.
Not the same.
Yeah. The show's a bit different. I also teach music. That's how I've been staying solvent. Well, we can't do gigs. And so I all my music students have been online as well. And so I'm spending 4 hours a day sometimes just staring into a camera and talking to people.
Yeah.
It's a very weird way to live.
Yeah.
It's weird. It's weird because I'm on unemployment right now. So but I moved into a place where the guy who rents me the room, he wanted to start a podcast. So we have this like sunroom in the back that we've turned into a podcast studio. So
nice.
So so he still works a job. My other roommate does too. So I it makes me feel like I have that's my work. That's my job. You know what I mean? Like I have to get up and come in here and do something, because
right.
I've been in here working on shit pretty much throughout the week. And it's like, it's all I have. It's all I have right now.
And having that thing to get out of bed for is so important.
Oh yeah. Absolutely. I mean, once we got some new equipment and everything, I mean, I was really feeling fucking really down and out. I mean, it was like I have no reason to get up.
That's tough.
That's the hardest part.
Yeah. But anyway, man, I was just telling Steve how we met, which was kind of cool. I was just thinking back on, man, I just love going down to San Diego and doing those shows. And Steve and I will always go down and travel there anyway, I mean, anytime I book a show, he'll come down and meet me or something. And we'll hang out for the weekend because we love
any excuse to go to San Diego. Like, I'll go. I love it down there.
Yeah,
I love it too.
But it was just kind of crazy. I met you and Joe Sib together that same weekend.
Oh yeah, was that at
Madhouse?
It was at Madhouse. That's right. Yeah. That's right. We were hanging out that weekend. Yeah.
Which is kind of funny that you hit me up because I was thinking of reaching out to Joe, and then it's just kind of weird, universal, full circle thing, right?
How funny.
Yeah.
How funny. Joe's a great guy.
Yeah. Well, he was supposed to do. That's another thing. I had Ice House shows set up. 3 Ice House shows set up in March. and
wow.
Joe was supposed to do one of them.
Yeah.
And everything got pushed back. That was supposed to be my birthday show, and yeah, everything got shut down in March. So,
When's your birthday in March?
28th.
28th. I'm on the other end of the month. I'm on the 2nd.
Oh, okay, cool. Pisces.
Pisces.
Pisces. March for retrograde. Must be why I'm such a bitch today. But fuck. Well, that's good that you had music to fall back on. You come from a music background. Did you grow up playing guitar or?
Yeah, my first instrument was the flute. Because my mom was like, "Hey, do you want music lessons? They're giving music lessons at school." And I was like, "Yeah, I guess." And she goes, "Well, girls like musicians." And I was like, "Okay, I'm in." And fourth grade, I was on top of it. And she said, "What instrument do you want to play?" And I was like, I don't know. And she goes, "Well, look, if you play the flute, you will always be the only boy in the section." And I was like, all right, cool. That sounds good. And I was all the way through college. I never met another male flautist in any of the orchestras I played in. So I did that. And then I picked up piano when I was, 11 or 12. And then I picked up guitar at 16 and then just went from there. Yeah, you get that guitar in your hands and you're like, oh, I have a life now.
Yeah. I never played. I tried playing guitar.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I just don't have the patience for it. I don't know, because the drums came almost naturally to me. I don't know if I told you.
I feel like, look, can we just pause for a second? Like, Ryan, you don't have a patience for a lot of things. Like, if you can't pick up on it like right away and be somewhat decent with it, you're like, fuck this. I don't want to do this shit. I gotta learn. I gotta dedicate my time and practice.
True.
Fuck that. I want to be halfway good at something first and then just get better.
Well, I guess that is kind of true. I had a leg up in stand up, so that's why I ended up doing stand up, because I already had like stage training and stuff. So that's why I was like, I could do this.
That helps. Yeah.
Yeah.
The thing with instruments though is that I tell this to people all the time. They're like, well, I don't have the drive to practice it. I'm like, try another instrument, because me, I have no patience for the piano. I'll sit and play, but I have no patience for actually getting better at piano. My brother is a pianist. That's his voice. That's what he does. And he plays lots of other things too, but that's his voice. For me, it's guitar. And so would I have a student who's like, I'm not really digging the piano or really digging this instrument, I go, try another instrument until you find the one that clicks for you. For guitar, I can sit and play guitar all day.
But I think that's what goes into what a better way to say it, that what Steve's saying is I think I resonate with certain things, and that's why I decided to pick it up.
Absolutely, yeah, totally.
Drums, like I said, they kind of came naturally to me. It was like I played. How I got into drums was Rock Band was huge in 2006, right? So,
okay, yeah.
So at some point I'd be going to parties and hanging out with people, and they'd be like, "Oh, Ryan plays on Expert on fucking Rock Band on drums." so they'd always have to play the drums.
Did you ever see the video of the guys from Rush trying to play their own songs on Rock Band?
No,
that's hilarious.
That's funny.
It's hilarious.
Well, I will say, I mean, the most accurate thing on that game is the drums, though. I mean, guitar.
I would imagine.
Guitar, I know. I mean, yeah. So when Guitar Hero Metallica came out, and it had the double kicks, and I mean, I was like, I'm playing these songs. Like I can
just transfer it over.
Yeah. So
totally.
Yeah. So once, I could never afford drums growing up. So when we had my older brother and a friend of his, like, we're trying to jam out in the garage, and we had this piece of shit drum set in the garage, and that's when I just started doing it. And I bought my drum set piece by piece, one piece at a time, like the Johnny Cash song.
Yeah, there you go. I'll tell you the secret to getting a drum kit, like the one I have behind me here, is you hire a drummer in your band who lies to you a lot and then ends up in jail just after you've loaned him money and took his drums as collateral, and then he ends up in jail and then never comes back for the drums. That's how I got mine.
There you go. Perfect.
You purchased the drum set unwillingly, I guess.
He ended up in jail.
Unreliable.
Right, yeah. He ended up in jail because he stole equipment from a studio down the hall from us, who happened to be friends of mine. He stole equipment from friends of mine. Yeah. And so the guy that I knew from the other band, I said, can he come? And he just came into my studio and he went, okay, that piece is mine and that piece is mine. I was like, those are yours, and I'm keeping the rest. I said, did I get a good deal? I gave him $300 for this, and he goes, yeah, actually, it's a pretty good deal. So I got a drum kit,
There you
and
go.
I've had it for years now. Yeah.
That's great. So, I imagine you played in a lot of bands before you actually started doing comedy.
Sort of. I played in a lot of versions of one band, honestly, because I started. Roadside Attraction is the name of my band, and we had a couple other names early on, but Roadside Attraction is what we've gone by for years and years. And the different people have cycled in and out of the band. I'm the only original member left, as if that meant anything for a band that nobody knows.
Yeah.
But it became my band rather than a band of equal parts. It became me and hired guns. And so that's kind of the way we run things now. And I still do, I release all the music as now Phil Johnson and Roadside Attraction, because I need both my name out there and the band name so that I don't lose my trademark on it. If I stop using it, I'll lose my trademark on the band name. So now all the music comes out as Phil Johnson and Roadside Attraction.
So what was the transition to start doing like stand-up gigs?
I had a mentor named Tim Sweeney in the music industry years ago. He's passed on since. And he was always encouraging me to go solo. First of all, I had just rebuilt my band again with all new players. And I said, Tim, I got the best band in the world. They are amazing. I love these guys. He goes, great, go solo. And I was like, no, you got to be kidding me.
Yeah.
He said, just trust me. He said, go solo. And so I said, all right, I'll do half band gigs, half solo gigs. And that lasted like 6 months later. I was doing all solo gigs, because it's just easier to not have to. I had 7, 8 guys in my band. We had a horn section and percussion and the whole thing. So it was a big band to wrangle, And when we play now, exactly. When we play now, the schedule
it's hard enough to get a drummer to show up on time.
Oh yeah. The drummer I have now is amazing. He's fantastic. He's an actual real human being. And so Joe's great. But yeah, so I had my mentor encouraging me to do some solo stuff. And then early on with him, we were at a convention that he had put on in Las Vegas, and one night all the musicians were sitting around the pool just kind of playing songs for each other. And I played them a song called Whale Blubber, which is a love song. And they were like, the next morning they were like, oh, that's funny. We can't get that Whale Blubber song out of our head. You should be doing that. And I was a serious songwriter. I was like, no.
Yeah.
That's B-side stuff. That's ridiculous. And they're like, seriously, we can't get the stupid Whale Blubber song out of our head. And they're like, that's what you should be doing. And so I got hooked up with a friend of mine in Los Angeles who was doing comedy music at the time, and we did some stuff together. But my first comedy gig was at the Hyena Theater in San Francisco. They were doing a musical comedy night, and they invited me to come do it. And it was my first comedy gig officially. Yeah. I had 3 songs and I did those, and I have the recording of that show, and it's horrendous to listen to.
Yeah.
But I lived on those 3 songs. The MC, at that Hyena Theater show, the MC saw my act, and she was like, hey, I need a guitar player for my show for this thing we're doing. And she invited me to come play guitar in her show. Her name's Lynn Ruth Miller. She's in London now. She's got to be... Gosh, she's got to be 87, 88 years old, something like that now. She was, because she was the old lady comic of our crew back then. But she said, look, we're going to do this thing where you play Anarchy in the UK by the Sex Pistols, and I'm going to throw lingerie at the audience. And I was like, cool, I'm in. And it was hilarious. It was so fun. And so we did that. And then she started introducing me to people in the comedy community here in the Bay Area and going, he's got some stuff, put him up. He's got some stuff, put him up. And I initially caught all the guitar comic flack.
That's what I was about to get into.
Got all that stuff because I had just fallen into it. I didn't think I was going to be doing comedy. So I did eventually go, well, if I'm going to do this, I should learn how to do this. And I started really putting time in on, I didn't take comedy classes per se, but I just started reading books and started writing jokes. I always loved stand-up. I just never thought I'd be doing it. So I had it in my head, and I just started writing. And part of it came from when I did first start doing solo gigs. I was coffee houses and things like that. And I had a bad habit of forgetting the lyrics to my songs. And so I started cracking jokes every time I would introduce a song or forget the lyrics or, and that just became part of the show where I was cracking jokes. So then it just became a matter of pre-writing the jokes, and it started to become a stand-up set, So that's kind of where it was all an accident that just kind of snowballed all of a sudden.
Yeah. Wait, so where do you think the flack comes from other comics like hating on musical stand-up?
I think some people have told me, they go, it's cheating. I'm like, there's no such thing as cheating in comedy. You know, it's you use all the tools that you have available to you. But I think part of it is when I see somebody do something in their act that I can't do with either I can't, skillfully do, or I can't do just because of the persona I have on stage, then I go, I wish I could do that. And I think it's a little bit of I wish I could do that, They would say nobody likes to follow the guitar comic, and I get that because we leave the room at another level, but it's actually great to follow a good guitar comic because we leave the room up here.
Yeah.
And they're primed for whatever comes next,
Yeah, I've
had headliners go, I don't want to go on after what you just did. And I'm like, just go up and try it and you'll see. And they're like, oh, wow, that was fantastic. So it's a myth.
Well, I think a lot of it is just some people. It all depends, though. I like, because there are some comics that I've seen that seem to have the guitar almost like a crutch. It's not really like that, and I think that's where a lot of people kind of just like give that they prejudge your act just based on the fact that you have a guitar, because there are a lot of people who kind of use it as some sort of it's like their material's not that great, and then but they play,
so they'll strum and do one-liners.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just kind of, and it's just like some background noise just to kind of keep them pandering,
But why hate on the guitar comic though? There's so many different hacky, just regular stand-up comics,
Well, they hate on all of them.
Yeah.
Like,
well, I mean,
you're
I did a
me
show one night. I did a show one night where I was headlining. The feature act was a ventriloquist.
Oof.
And I think the MC did some juggling, and I'm like, purists' heads are exploding right now.
Like, what fucking circus show did I just walk into? You got motherfucker juggling.
You couldn't pay me. You could not pay me to sit through a ventriloquist act, dude. I see. I mean, because I fall into that purist category sometimes. I don't know. There's something about like. Man, there was this guy that would do he would do terrible magic and terrible jokes, and he was like a super Latin comic, right? So like he was horrible. I mean, but like people loved him, and it would drive me fucking insane because I'm just like this. I'm like it was just the most hackneyed fucking material.
All I can think of right now, you're saying he's one of those hacky Mexican comics, and he did like magic. So he's like, oh, I'm gonna pull a chihuahua out of sombrero.
Yeah, I mean, like it was shit like that. I mean, no, it was worse than that. If he pulled a live animal out of something, that would have been fucking better. Like at least that would have been a little impressive, but. Like God, dude, it was just the most like fucking the most surface level like sleight of hand and shit. It was just the most and like I remember having to host a show with this guy one time too, and it was like it was a bar gig, and I was just kind of waiting for more people to show up, and he's just like, there are 2 people here, we should just start the show. Like I'm like, relax, man. Like just chill out. Let me get at least 3 more in here before we start. I'm like, if you want to do your shitty magic to those 2 people, I guess go ahead.
The way I always think about it is that there's at any given time there's 20% of comedians that are going to be worthwhile to see. Out of all the comics that are out there, 20% of them are going to be good and worthwhile to see. Sure. Just like 20% of anything is going to be, 20% of the painters are going to be good and worthwhile to look at, right? So when you deal with ventriloquists or musical comics or any sort of the niche comedy acts, there's just a smaller pool to pick from. So, if there's 1 million stand-ups, there's 100 musical comics, and so that 20% is a much smaller pool, and so your chances of catching that one is smaller than you can see great stand-ups any given night of the week, but that's because there's 1 billion stand-ups to pick from. And so I think that's where we run into it, is that there's a lot of terrible musical comedy out there, but it's easier to run into than bad stand-up or something that has a larger pool to draw from.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, there's way more bad stand-up than good stand-up for sure.
Exactly.
But then some of the most brilliant stand-ups are the ones that are bad, that are like purposely being bad. For the
that's a skill in itself.
That's a skill in itself. It's a fucking art form. Sometimes I've seen so many people be able to do that, and I'm like, man, so like. It's like the art of bombing, really. Like, it's crazy. But anyway, yeah. So I'd imagine, yeah. Anyway, so I was going to bring that up, the whole flack about all that stuff, yeah, because I've seen plenty of. But I love the one-liner guys too. They get a lot of hate in the fucking in the comedy world, but like I could not imagine writing that many jokes to fill up that long a time.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You know, like
that's a lot of writing.
I do more storytelling stuff, which draws out like a few minutes. But these dudes are doing set up punch, set up punch, set up punch for 20 fucking minutes. It's crazy.
Yeah. That's I enjoy a great one-liner comic. It's hard to do. I mean, that is just a ton of new ideas because we can write longer bits because it's the same idea. We're just building on it. Yeah. But one-liners, it's like, okay, 30 seconds later, I need a new idea. That's a lot of work.
That's a lot of work. So I got like a greater deal of respect for those one-liner guys than I got a greater deal of respect for a lot of different like niche comics and stuff for when I started doing it. I really stopped hating and just mostly just being like, well, I just can't do it,
Yeah.
Right.
Like impressions and stuff like that. Singing.
Sure, I'm terrible at those. Yeah.
Yeah. I do terrible impressions, but that's what makes them funny.
Right.
How bad they are.
Yeah.
I was doing a writing session with a friend of mine yesterday, and he goes, "Are you going to do an accent on this one joke?" And I was like, "No, because I'm terrible at accents." I said I kind of do like a really vague accent that just means it's not me, it's somebody else, but you could never place that as an accent from any person.
Well, why not? Give it a shot and then see where I don't know, because then you can happens. Then you can make fun of the fact that you're so bad at it. And then it becomes a whole other thing. Kind of takes life. Like I had a bit where I was and it was an accidental thing. I was it's a bit about chivalry and I was talking about Knights of the Round Table and I was trying to do an English accent and it somehow came out like fucking Bostonian. And so I was just like, oh, that's just how I'm going to do it from now on. Like,
with Bill Burr as Hamlet.
Yeah. So you never really actually did you do like road gigs just as a band being on the
sure. Yeah. We didn't tour extensively. Nevada, I think, was the farthest we ever drove as a band, but we would do stuff up and down California. I think we might have done some stuff in Oregon. We had a horrendous road gig to Reno years and years ago that we had booked this gig, and we packed everything in our van. And we had we had a van, we had a trailer, and all the gear was in the trailer. We were in the van. We had this really nice van, and we're driving, and the van starts overheating.
Oh, shit.
So we pull over, like all the fluids are good, and we can't figure out why it's overheating. So we let it cool down. We get back in, it's overheating again. We go a few miles, the thing would overheat again, and so it's taking us forever to get to Reno, which should be about a 4-hour drive from where we are. And to the point where we're like, we're going to be late for the gig. And we had left early that morning. And so my singer and I had a singer at the time in the band, and we hitchhiked into Reno with this really nice couple who drove very slowly. And we're like, come on, we're going to be. And so we finally get there. And we go, look, the rest of the band's going to be here. There's a tow truck bringing our van and our trailer into Reno, and we're going to do this gig. And we were the only band on for the night. It was like a 4-hour, 4 sets a night at a strip club that did bands on the weekends. So the stage had a pole
Reno.
in the middle. We had a pole in the middle of the stage.
Yeah.
And we get there. And we get set up and we start into our set. There's 8 people in the crowd. It's just one of those nights. And this is like a Saturday night. It was ridiculous. Yeah. And so we're playing, and then all of a sudden this huge crowd walks in. And the place is bouncing, and we're killing. I'm playing the solos, doing the whole thing. And then all of a sudden the entire crowd leaves. And we go, what happened? And the guy goes, the manager goes, they were all underage. They weren't allowed to be in here. I was like, you've got to be kidding me. The place was packed for 10 minutes. And so we finished this 4-hour set. It's just depressing as can be. And then we find out that the bar is docking our pay because my bass player drank too much. So now we're getting stiffed on part of our pay.
What?
He was sloshed. He was gone. And he was also gone from the band soon after.
they weren't docking your pay because he drank over the tab, but because he was drunk.
No, because he drank over the tab.
Okay.
He drank our entire tab,
Okay.
and he was totaled. He was also out of the band very quickly after that. And
Yeah.
so we had planned to stay at my roadie's ex-girlfriend's house while we were there. This was low budget touring, right? We were couch surfing. So we pull up at this chick's house, and we walk in, and we go, hey, Johnny, why does it smell like pee in here? It smells considerably of pee. And he's like, I didn't mention she's got a little bladder problem. And we're like, dude, you've got to be kidding me. So we said, we're not staying in this house.
Problem.
No, I'm
Yeah,
sleeping.
big-
I'm
oh,
sleeping
yeah.
in the van.
Yeah.
Dude, the house smelled like she had 1,000 cats.
How old is she?
A full-grown adult. And
Oh my god.
yeah,
Yeah,
and
but
just
depends
live on
were
a
a thing.
piss
They had
soaked couch.
depends.
But not too
So
old. But not too
we
old.
said, yeah, not too old. Yeah, we said we're not staying here, and because my parents had actually gone up with us, and they were staying at like Circus or something like that because they wanted to see the show. My parents are very very supportive of the whole thing, and
Yeah.
so my dad is like, just come to the hotel with us, and you guys can crash in our hotel room, you know.
Damn.
And yeah, they're very super cool about the whole
Yeah.
thing, and so my drummer, he goes, I'm gonna stay at the house, and we're like, what? Why would you do that? And he goes,
Piss fetish.
the girl's mom kind of digs me. We're like, dude, Ralph, you gotta be kidding me.
No.
So
Ugh.
he actually stayed behind to.
Was that the drunk guy?
No, this was the drummer, the sex fiend of the band,
Oh.
and so
See,
he stayed behind.
You just described two different people that would have been me in that band.
Yeah.
The drunk and the sex fiend. Yeah, we had them as separate people.
Yeah, if I get drunk, you can't smell the pee, so like I'll be
Right.
fine. Just leave me here.
So he stayed behind at the pee house to sleep with the girl's mom. The rest of us went to Circus to crash with my parents. And I said, I'm gonna gamble a little bit. I gotta blow off some steam after this horrendous day, so I'm gonna play some blackjack. And so me and the singer and the bass player, we played a little blackjack, and they were like, "All right, we're getting tired. We're gonna go sleep." So they head up to my parents' room to sleep. I ended up playing blackjack until 7 a.m. And
Happens sometimes.
because I hadn't even taken my stage clothes off. I was still dressed in my stage clothes, playing blackjack, making friends with people at the table. I was just like, I can't, we know. So my dad comes down, he goes, "Have you been to sleep?" And I said, "Nope." And he goes, "All right, well, we got to get back in the van and drive back to San Jose now." And so we collect all the guys from the various places, and my singer is hitting on one of the dealers. He's like, "I think she likes me." I'm like, "No, she doesn't, dude. She's trying to get you to stay at the roulette table."
Yeah.
And he goes, "Well, I got this." He goes, "I have this stack of chips." I said, "Just put it all on black and we'll go." He puts it all on black. It comes up black. He doubles his money. I said, "Let's get the hell out of here." We get back in the van, which immediately starts overheating again.
Yeah.
And because we have not figured out what's going on. So we're driving, it's overheating. We're like, we're just going to take all day to get home. And then we go, "Hey, you know what? Let's put some of the gear in the van. We'll take it out of the trailer and put it in the van." And that was it. That was the magic bullet. We cruised all the way home. It didn't overheat a single time. It's
What the
never
fuck?
overheated since. I still have the van. That was it. That whole first day could have been alleviated if we took a couple amps out and put them in the van instead of the trailer. It was the stupidest trip I have ever been on.
Yeah.
With the exception of a triple run in Montana. That might have been stupider. But yeah.
A triple
That was-
run in Montana.
So let's hear about the triple run in Montana.
Did you ever do a triple run?
I've never done a triple run. However, I know much about.
Wait. What is a triple run?
Okay, so there's a guy named David Tribble who books. He doesn't book much anymore. I think he's
Tribble
only
Run,
yeah, Tribble. Like in Star Trek, right? Trouble with Tribbles. That's his last
Yeah.
name. And
Okay.
every comic has a Trouble with Tribble story. And and so he books these.
Yeah, can you imagine why I never wanted
Mostly,
to? Do
yeah, it's mostly one-nighters. Some of the gigs are crazy good, and a lot of them are horrible gigs. But you have to do the horrible ones to get to the good ones because it's on the way. On the way meaning it's 6 hours away. And he doesn't actually book that much anymore. He books one club in Washington, and I think he's pretty much retired
that's
besides
actually
that.
another reason why I never did it yet was by the time I was actually feeling like I could go and do feeling confident enough to go out and do road gigs like that. He was already pretty much out of the game. he did like 2 years in Montana or some shit, you know?
Right. Yeah. He lives in an RV, and he and his wife just travel. They're both super nice people. They're great folks. Yeah. And so it was a Montana run, and the gal opening for me, it was her first road gigs. She was going out to open for me, and most of the gigs were okay. And then we played in Billings, Montana, I think it was. Yeah, Billings, Montana. Great show. We had a good time. And then the next night was in Glasgow, Montana, which should have been about a 3-hour drive, except for it was snowing sideways the entire time. We slid off the road twice. I got a ticket. It took us 7 hours to get there. And it was so dark. By the time we were almost there, it was so dark I couldn't see anything out of my front windshield. I was literally driving by the green line on my GPS to know where the road was.
That is so terrifying. Yeah, I had to do that. I've been there too, man. It's fucking scary.
Yeah. And so we finally got there. Fortunately, there was an audience, but it was a harrowing drive to get there. I was like, if there's no audience, I'm going to kill somebody.
I don't think people really understand. I guess maybe a lot of people from California don't really understand like what real dark is. Like when you get out in the country, like real country in the Midwest and things like that. There's no street lights. There's no nothing. It's just darkness.
Yeah. It's you and the fucking lines. That's it.
Yeah, it's terrifying.
And my headlights weren't even penetrating this snow. Yeah. It was crazy. I told the audience, I said, you guys, I got to Glasgow, Scotland in less time than it took me to get to Glasgow, Montana today.
Yeah.
Oh, God. Nope.
Yeah.
Never again.
Yeah. You know, okay, so you brought up, I wanted to talk about this. You brought up having supportive parents. So you have any siblings?
I do. Yeah, I have a younger brother. He's 3 years younger, and he's a musician, and he was an actor for a while. He moved to, this is how supportive my parents are. He moved to LA at 15 to be an actor because he already had an agent and a manager and some gigs, and so he went down there and he did some, TV shows and some Roger Corman films and some commercials and things like that.
Oh, shit. He did a Corman film?
Yeah, he did Carnosaur 2.
Really?
He's the only one left alive at the end of the film. My mother was thrilled. And he did another one called Demolition Day that had, it was like a sort of a comedy action film. Yeah.
I think somebody's here. Hold on.
Oh, okay.
Talk amongst yourselves. My next guest is here. Hold on.
Yeah. Well, he was talking about supportive parents, but like 15, like where were you guys staying at before?
We grew up in San Jose here.
Oh,
and,
okay.
And so he had met this. He was taking some acting classes up here for fun, and the lady that was teaching the classes, she ended up being his manager, and she ended up bailing later because she was also managing Alicia Silverstone. They both came up at the same time.
Oh wow!
And they were friends, and Alicia hit, and she kind of bailed on all her other clients. Yeah. And so my brother he got away from acting and ended up going back into music, and now he writes for theater. He writes like theater scores and things like that.
Wow, that's awesome.
Shit. Yeah.
So
really cool.
He's been doing quite a bit of that, and he writes like big choral scores and for competitions and things. So he's very talented. Yeah,
that's great. Yeah, I mean, that's what. So you kind of had Did people give you shit about like having it kind of easy for having like such supportive parents and getting you more invested in the arts, like growing up and stuff like that, kind of having a leg up when you really got into this field?
Yeah, I don't know if I've caught shit for it, but people are usually like, my dad goes to a ton of my shows, especially here in the Bay Area. He'll travel with me sometimes, but certainly here in the Bay Area, most of the comics know my dad. And
really?
And to the point where they'll come off stage and walk up to my dad and go, I tried that new tag tonight. Do you think I should flip the wording on it? And my dad's like, yeah, maybe flip the wording on it,
Yeah, that's
where
true.
they'll ask him for advice because he's seen everybody's act so many times.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, it was always like a kind of a back and forth with my parents. My stepdad was like a real, hardworking American and shit,
Okay.
And my mom was always really embracive about, I was just thinking about this the other day. I was watching Batman, the animated series, and I was thinking about my mom because I was like, my mom really, really embraced like our interests growing up, like she was always like on top, like on point on everything we liked and stuff like that. And what we were into and so I was always into, I like to do sketches a lot. So I wanted to be like a cartoonist at first. That was going to be I was going to draw comic books. That's what I wanted.
Nice.
And so like they were always buying me new, kits for drawing and shit like that. And, but then as I got older, eventually it was, my stepdad was always like, well, what are you going to do to pay the bills, man? Like,
Yeah.
it was like, he was like that harsh reality. Whereas my mom was kind of just like, yeah, do you're an artistic person. That's where you're destined to be. So they would always have this kind of back and forth, like, why you got to, my mom, they would kind of fight about it. My mom would be like, why are you trying to shatter his dreams? And he's like, well, he's got to learn how to be a fucking adult, which I think was kind of good because I learned both things. I learned the importance of what it's like to chase your dreams, but then also not give up your fucking responsibilities.
Yeah. You go too far in either direction, and it all falls apart.
Problem.
So yeah. My parents taught us how to be adults too. We were early on cooking. My mom taught us how to type, when we were kids, things like this. She's like, these are skills you're going to need. But they were also, very supportive of the whole thing. My dad was a folk singer in the 60s. So we got that from that side of the family. My mom played a little like Hawaiian slap guitar when she was younger. So that kind of stuff does run in the family a little bit. And so they were happy to see us do that.
Don't you think there's some sort of like rhythm that is just almost, it's like hereditary? Like you can't teach it. You know what I mean? Like there's some people who just have this comedic timing or rhythm to music that just.
I would say that, except for my dad has terrible rhythm.
Really?
Yeah.
Really? But he's a musician.
Yeah, he was a singer and he played a little bit of bass. He claimed he played bass until I took him to see Brian Setzer play one night, and it was the trio. It wasn't Lee Rocker playing the bass. I can't remember who it was, but. And my dad was watching Brian Setzer's bass player, and he went, "Oh, I'm never going to say I was a bass player ever again."
Right.
That's what it's supposed to sound like.
Yeah.
Yeah. I couldn't do that.
He was a singer, and he was a great singer. He had a really, really nice voice for that old folk music stuff, and so he was great for that. But yeah, his rhythm is terrible. We actually had him try to play. We were recording a Christmas single years ago, and we had him try to play the Jingle Bells on it. Could not do it. Could not do it.
That's crazy. But what about your mom? Your mom was a musician?
Yeah, a little bit. She played Hawaiian slack key guitar when she was younger and actually taught for a while. We still have her steel guitar, and it's a 1968, 64 or 68 Fender double neck steel guitar, and I've never seen another one like it. We can't even find anybody to tell us how much it's worth. We've seen a lot of single neck ones, but not the double neck, and it's in pristine condition. Yeah, so
wow.
Yeah, I still have that. But
so where is your family originally from?
We grew up in San Jose here in the Bay Area, and I live 6 blocks from my parents. They live 6 blocks that way. But my mom's from New Jersey originally. My dad is from North Dakota originally, so we've got family in both of those places out there. But yeah, they came to California when they were kids, and yeah, so we're a California family for sure.
So, when you were growing up, did you ever? I know you're right there in the BayArea. The thrash metal scene. Were you ever like? Oh
yeah.
Were you going? Did you ever? Yeah. Tell me about some of those like gnarly shows you ever got to go to.
I was a little bit young to really catch that early scene. I really wish. I mean, to see Metallica at the Omni or someplace like that early on would have been fantastic. I didn't really catch it until high school, so I was about 5 years too late to really catch. They were already huge by that point. But I had a friend named Neil in high school who would. Go, this is the album you got to listen to. And it'd be like a Death Angel record or a Queensryche record or something like that. And so Neil turned me on to all sorts of stuff. And total metalhead as a teenager for sure. And, my parents were not into that. Yeah. But at the same time, my mom would listen to an Ozzy Osbourne song and go, okay, I think I kind of get it. Yeah. And that's cool. And my dad liked Queensryche, and or at least said he did. I bought him a Queensryche album for Christmas, and he was like, oh, okay, But when I was a kid, because you're like, oh, you liked it, and he's like, Now more so, I took him to see. Do you know who Lyrics Born is, the rapper?
No.
Oh, okay. Bay Area rapper, amazing. He's one of my favorite rappers. This guy's fantastic. And we were listening to him in the car one day, headed to a gig. My dad goes, I really like this guy. He's got some cool stuff. And I said, cool. We're going to go see him next time he's in town, because he plays all over the world. And so I took my dad for his 74th birthday to go see his first hip-hop show.
Yeah.
And
how do you like that?
And he was like, this is awesome. And then I'm acquainted with Lyrics Born. We're not friends, but I'm acquainted with him. And I walked up, and Lyrics Born goes, "Oh, cool, dude, you made it." And he was like, my dad goes, "You know him?" It was like,
"Oh yeah, we go way back."
So it was great. We took a picture and the whole thing, So yeah, my dad and I, we've always bonded on that music stuff. And but yeah, I did come up in the metal thing. I grew up on my parents' 50s and 60s rock. I studied classical music all the way through, playing in orchestras in middle school and high school, and I studied jazz in college for my degree. And so there's not much I don't get my hands on after a while.
Yeah. Yeah, how do you feel about trying to stay current with music? Because I have a hard time sometimes, like trying to fucking, like because it used to be so easy to at least to come across things that were new. You know what I mean? Like now it's so oversaturated. Everyone's on. It's like it's kind of hard to come across something that you might like. Like, what do you do to try and actually stay on top of things? I mean, are you?
My girlfriend and I were discussing this last night, actually, because we were talking about the inauguration concert, and she had watched it while I was teaching some lessons, and she goes, "Do you want to see it?" And I was like, "Well, who played?" And she's like, "Oh, Katy Perry, Justin Timberlake, John Bon Jovi." I was like, I think I can pass. I don't know.
Yeah.
I said, "How was Springsteen?" She goes, "Yeah." I said, "Okay, that's the only one I was interested in." So I said, "I'll pass." She goes, "You're so close-minded. You don't like anything that's mainstream." And I'm like, "I know. I've listened to all those people, and I've seen them, do concert. I don't need to hear it. I know what they're going to do.
Yeah.
I want new stuff." So I think the algorithms are really getting better. I use YouTube Music and Spotify sometimes, and the Discover Weekly playlist, or the Discovery playlist, often yield some cool stuff. I found a whole bunch of bands recently that
I use the same thing. I think a lot of it comes down to, it's just kind of like a comfort thing. Because when you open Spotify and stuff, you have all these choices and all the things you've never seen or heard before that you can try out, or you go by what you're used to and what you like listening to. It's kind of like why The Office got so big, like on Netflix. Is like, should you watch something new, or now rewatch The Office for the 10th time? And there's like a bunch of stuff on there. It's like you're not even trying. Like, it takes a little bit of effort, but it's there. You just gotta actually just like, fuck it, like Discovery. Show me something.
But it's not like, well, oh shit. But see, the thing is, since everything's like on demand at your fingertips, it's kind of hard to come across something that you're kind of forced to listen to or watch. That's what I'm trying to say.
Well, yeah, because you go back to what you've already listened to, but they have
but also because we're not watching TV anymore, or listening to the radio anymore. The way like they would just play things that were new that you might like, but but they're just playing them at random. You know what I mean? Like, so like, like there'll be a new show after the show that you already watch, and if it comes on the TV, you're gonna watch it.
Yeah. Well, my thing is different. Like when it comes to like music, especially because I was always like, even in high school, like when MySpace was a thing, I wanted to find new music. So I'm like, what do? I go to the MySpace music page, and I would just like look at like the UK page of music, and then there's a list of all these bands and things I've never heard of, and then I would look them up and listen to them, and then just like that's how I found new. So like things like that. Like I just think it's easier now, but you have to actively want to like.
Right.
I'm gonna listen to a playlist full of people I don't know, and maybe something might stick. And that's what you kind of have to do now.
Yeah. I mean, like you said, it's been what's been actually going on for me that I've been getting a lot of new suggestions is my Google Pod on YouTube. It plays YouTube Music, so I just kind of I'll say just play music, and it'll play shit that it just thinks I would like. So which is pretty cool because I've come across a few groups that I had never even heard of that Google just gave to me,
Yeah, that's like the crazy. Same thing. Yeah. And I found stuff where I go, oh, this is amazing. How have I never heard this? But I also like going back to find, like, there's bands that I liked years ago, and I'll look in their profile. Oh, they've released 7 albums since the last time I engaged with this band. Yeah. I just spent like a week and a half listening to LA Guns because they put out like a zillion albums since I last engaged with that band, and I'm like, I'm just gonna listen to LA Guns for a week and see what they're doing.
Yeah,
it's like still active. I had the same thing happen like a year ago with Hoobastank. I had like Hoobastank popped in my head one day randomly, and I'm like, oh fuck! I used to listen to this one song about Hoobastank all the time, and I looked them up, and I'm like, they're still fucking touring.
Yeah,
pre-COVID, I'm like, holy fuck! Like, Hoobastank's still on the road? Like,
Cherry has a festival.
It's crazy.
Yeah, Buck Cherry has like a festival in like Virginia or some shit. Have you ever seen these?
Crazy.
There's
you told me about
thousands of people there.
Yeah,
it's like holy shit.
Yeah.
I mean,
That's the thing is they get that pot of fans. Like 311 is like that. Pearl Jam is like that.
Well,
Where
311
they've got
pretty-
their fans, and the rest of the world barely knows they exist anymore.
Yeah. I mean, even
Yeah.
as much people like to make fun of Nickelback. Nickelback has some like big,
Rabid.
like, hardcore fans.
Yeah.
You know. It's,
Yeah. Yeah, I know. They're just an easy target.
Yeah.
I mean,
You listen to one band in high school and then you just never change.
they're not. They're,
This
you
is
know,
this is just me now.
they're not. They're not that bad a band, I guess. But
No, they're not.
but it's just cheese lyrics. You know, it's just
Yeah.
it's an easy target. I don't know why no one's attacking these fucking pop punk bands, man. They're like in their 40s now. They're singing about the same girl in high school.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm just like, God, and that whole thing is like really starting to. There's like a revival happening on like TikTok and YouTube and shit with all these
Pop punk bands.
pop punk and emo things. They're just it's like these trends are.
Machine Gun Kelly.
I'm like I hated it then. I hate it now. And they're like emo's not dead. I'm like fucking please kill it with fire.
Yeah. Yeah.
I thought we were over this. It went away for 10 fucking years.
Did you hear about the sea shanty trend on TikTok
Yeah.
that's happening?
Yeah, I
It's
started
so
seeing that.
weird.
Yeah.
What
yeah,
is
I
that?
just read about that. So sea shanties, like old sailor songs, it's the weirdest thing. So I a couple years ago, I had a podcast about pirates, and it was very, very niche. And I was getting deep into the pirate community, and so sea shanties are big. All the pirate bands do sea shanties and things like that.
Right,
so I
right,
knew a
right.
lot of that stuff, and I was emceeing at the festivals and things. And just recently, the other night, they're like, "Oh yeah, sea shanties are blowing up on TikTok." I'm like, "You've got to be kidding me! How is that really songs from 300-400 years ago are blowing up on TikTok? That's so
Yeah.
weird."
Yeah.
And I was like, "I've got so many bands I need to tell about this. Hey, you need to be on TikTok right now because this
Yeah.
is what you do."
Well,
And
yeah.
they talked to the guy who kind of like started it, and the first song he put out I wasn't familiar with, and he's like, and then my second song was Drunken Sailor, and I'm like, Drunken Sailor is like the brown-eyed girl of sea shanties, like you never
Yeah.
want to hear it again.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what do you do with the Drunken Sailor? Da, 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 da. You know, and I was like, of
Yeah.
course it's Drunken Sailor. Like every shanty band does a version of Drunken Sailor,
Right.
and but it was just such a weird thing to
Yeah.
pop, and I was like, I wish I was still doing the podcast because
Oh,
I would
yeah, it would
absolutely.
blow up.
I would do a couple of episodes at least talking to shanty bands and try and connect into that. But
Yeah.
It comes
missed
like
the boat,
I
so
don't
to
know
speak.
where these trends are coming from. It's so funny to me because like when I saw the sea shanty thing on TikTok, I was so fucking confused because it was just scrolling up and it was 3 black teens, these teenagers in this car, and they're singing sea shanties. And I'm like, none of this goes together. Like, what is happening? What is happening? And then so I went on the hashtag and there's all these people just singing sea shanties. I'm like, I mean, this is cool, but like, how did this happen? Like, why is
Yeah.
everybody into this now?
yeah, it's so weird. The conjecture in the article that I saw was that sea shanties are just they're sort of a balm for the soul because they're rhythmically simple, they're melodically simple. They were like people just want something simple and nice right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
know?
mean, it makes sense.
It made a little bit of sense, yeah.
makes
So
sense.
other than that, I have no idea. I just thought that was very bizarre
All right.
to have that pop. But yeah, I know
Yeah.
a lot of shanty bands are going to be busy.
Well, Phil, I think we're gonna wrap it there. I got
Cool, man.
I got a full house over here, so we got to move on to the next one. But thank you so much for coming on. I'm
Thanks for
happy
having
to hear
me.
from you. This was a lot of fun. Maybe one of these days, if you're ever passing through, we can have you in studio. We got a whole multicam setup in here that would be fun
Love to.
do.
Love to.
Yeah.
As soon as
Or
we're
we
allowed
can
to
even
be
get you
around
to
people.
play some songs live or something like that too.
For
Next
sure.
time.
Yeah.
When things are back to a bit of normal, you know.
Yeah,
Hopefully
absolutely.
these vaccines rolled out.
Yeah. But
Yep.
all right, man. Well, thank you so much.
Wait. Well, yeah, Phil, you got to plug your stuff. Where
Oh,
can
sure,
I
yeah.
find you and
Uh, Yeah, PhilJohnsonComedy.com is the place to get all the stuff, including my new special called Burning Sensation, and Phil Johnson Comedy at Facebook, Instagram, and those are the places.
there you
All right,
go.
man. Well, there you go. Thank you so much, guys, for listening. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks, Phil, for coming on. Thanks, Steve, for being here again.
Yeah.
So that is it. I'm going to end the broadcast, and then I'll give you a proper farewell. Goodbye.